Member of the Health Select Committee, Rachael Maskell, said if someone is infected, they need to isolate. She also added the importance of testing as a way of ensuring life doesn't continue as normal for people who test positive. I'm sorry, but what's the point of the vaccines then? What's the point of the vaccines? What's the point of all of this? To share his thoughts, I'm joined now by former member of the European Parliament, Rupert Lowe. Rupert, thank you very much. So, I'm sorry, but the whole point...
Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year. The whole point of us waiting so long and locking down and waiting for the vaccines was so that once we had a vaccine, we could go and live our lives. I mean, this person seems to want us trapped in a time warp of COVID misery. Your views?
Well, my view is quite straightforward. I mean, we've got this ridiculous nanny state. And if you look at what happened during the lockdowns, which in my view were basically a battle between the older baby boomers who are frightened of dying and the young people whose lives have been messed up by all this erroneous mask wearing and all of the propaganda we had about protecting the NHS and everything else. So what's actually happened is we've not only wasted huge sums of money, which central planning always does, we've damaged the interests of the young people. We have actually now got more people dying of cancer. And if you look at excess death rates, it's appalling. But, you know, people like Rachael Maskell, I'm afraid, can't help but come up with some centrally planned scheme to enslave the British people. Why not just leave it to their good sense? The NHS, in my view, it needs complete reform. It's actually a fraud.
Yeah.
We actually pay vast amounts of national insurance, whether you're actually employed or whether you're an employer. And it's not a case of money. It's a case, as you said just now, of organisation.
It is.
You've got far too many people in what I call the marzipan lair who get paid huge.
It's ridiculous. We speak to nurses and paramedics.
Very good people. There's some very good people, Patrick, in the NHS, but they're led very badly by this marzipan lair who are political, half a cut above themselves, and basically arrogant. They display
just say it as it is, Rupert. A lot of this lot are on the take, right? Absolutely 100% on the take. I mean, diversity and inclusion officers and all of this stuff. I mean, goodness, directors of lived experience. I mean, I'm sorry, what on earth are we paying for? But I just want to get you back onto a bit of track in terms of the COVID thing. There's a question here that I think, and everyone will have a different answer to this, and there's no judgment. I'm just keen to get your view on it. If you have COVID, should you isolate?
Well, I think if you've got COVID and you feel you're not well, then the best thing you can do is to do what most people do and stay at home. But that's a personal decision. That shouldn't be a statist, centrally planned decision. In the same way that, whether you take, if you call them a vaccine or whether they're gene therapy, whatever you want to call it, whether you take that or not should be a matter for the individual. It should be individual choice. And this is where the country's gone completely wrong. We're now run by some very average people in Parliament, and they want to feel that they're doing something. And what they end up doing is making any situation like this worse. So I'm very clear. Look at Sweden. That man in Sweden, Anders Tegnell, should be applauded by the world. That guy stood up. He got it right. The numbers are now proving that lockdown is extremely damaging and had no beneficial effect. If anything, it was damaging. As you quite rightly say, even Fauci, who I dislike profoundly, has admitted that masks don't work. So why are we still banging on with the thin end of the wedge? And if we're not very careful, and if people don't wake up, we will have this gradual creep and we'll have our freedoms taken away.